Hello everyone, welcome back to another Magic the Gathering video. This is just a quick deck video for a deck I drafted at Friday Night Magic last week. Took third place with it, went 2-1, won the first round 2-1, lost the second round 1-2, and won the third round 2-0. Went red and blue, and we're just going to jump right into the deck and explain the cards and how I use the cards and things like that. Right back with that. Starting out with our lands, we have 7 islands. We also have 7 mountains. We have 1 Desert of the Mindful. Enters the battlefield tapped. Taps for blue. It also has cycling for 1 in a blue. Discard the card to draw a card. And we have 1 Survivor's Encampment. Taps for wastes. You can also tap it, untap creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. To our creatures, we have 2 Cunning Survivor. 1 in a blue for a 1/3. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, it gets +1/+0 until the end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. One game I had both of these guys out, and I cycled a card. They each got pumped by 1, so they were each a 2/3, and I was able to swing for 4. We have 1 Fervent Paincaster, 2 in a red, for a 3/1. You can tap it to deal 1 damage to target player. You can also tap it, exert it. It deals 1 damage to target creature, and then it doesn't untap during its next untap step. Add 1 Firebrand Archer, 1 in a red for a 2/1. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Firebrand Archer deals 1 damage to each opponent. Add 1 Khenra Scrapper, 2 in a red for a 2/3 with Menace. You may also exert it as it attacks. When you do, it gets +2/+0 until the end of turn, and then doesn't untap during its next untap step. Add 1 Manticore of the Gauntlet, 4 in a red for a 5/4. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. Manticore of the Gauntlet deals 3 damage to target opponent. Add 1 Slither Blade, 1 blue for a 1/2 that can't be blocked. So this guy did quite a bit of damage in one game. I got him out very early and was able to just constantly swing with him and deal that 1 unblockable damage. Add 1 Spellweaver Eternal, 1 in a blue for a 2/1 with Prowess. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. It also has Afflict 2, so if it gets blocked, the defending player loses 2 life. This guy got pumped, I believe, up to he was a 4/3 at one point. So I played 2 non-creature spells, pumped it by 2, and then swung for 4. This is a pretty good creature. Have 1 Thorned Moloch, 2 in a red for a 2/2 with also a Prowess, so it gets +1/+1 till the end of turn whenever you cast a non-creature spell. And also Thorned Moloch has first strike as long as it's attacking. Just like the Spellweaver Eternal, this guy got pumped a few times and was able to also swing for 4 as well. 1 Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs, 2 colorless for a 0/4 defender. You can also tap it, deals 1 damage to target player. Activate this ability only if you control a desert or there is a desert in your graveyard. And we had 1 Zenith Seeker, 3 in a blue for a 2/2 with flying. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, target creature gains flying until the end of turn. I'm going to move into our enchantments. We just have 2 Unquenchable Thirst, 1 in a blue, enchant creature. When Unquenchable Thirst enters the battlefield, if you control a desert or there is a desert in your graveyard, tap enchanted creature. Then enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. I was able to use this pretty much every game to shut down some of my opponent's bigger creatures. Into our instance, we have 1 Abrade, 1 in a red. Choose 1, it deals 3 damage to target creature or destroy target artifact. The game I actually played this, my opponent had no creatures out when I used it, but he did have the artifact, and it's like the Mana Lith or something like that, where you tap it for 1 of any color. So I used it to destroy that artifact just to kind of slow down their mana acceleration. So 1 of those. We have 2 Bur of Blades, 1 in a red. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Bur of Blades deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. Use this to win a game. So I actually cycled something and drew this. My opponent was tapped out, and I needed to do a total of like 6 damage. And I only had 5 damage on the board. So I cycled the card, got this, put the -1/-1 counter on 1 of their creatures. Both their creatures were tapped. Did 2 damage to the player, and then swung in with the rest to win. So 2 Bur of Blades. Have 1 cancel, 1 and 2 blue, counter target spell. 2 Countervailing Winds, 2 in a blue. Counter target spell, unless its controller pays 1 for each card in your graveyard. You can also pay 2 and cycle it. This is the card I actually cycled to get that Bur of Blades in that one game. Have 1 refuse to cooperate, so the refuse half. 3 in a red. Refuse deals damage to target spell's controller equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Use this to win one of the games as well, where my opponent played something that cost 6, and he was at 5 health. I then paid the 4 mana, the 3 in a red, to deal 6 damage to the opponent and win that round. And cooperate, Aftermath, you can only cast it out of your graveyard. Copy target instant or sorcery. You may choose new copies or new targets for the copy. So I have one spell that does a bunch of damage. However, they had a creature that it wasn't quite enough damage. So I played the spell. I then played Cooperate, copying the spell and targeting the creature again, which was then able to be enough damage to kill it. After that, we have 1 Supreme Will, 2 in a blue. Choose 1. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3, or look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Every game that I use this in, I always went with the first option to counter the spell. And finally, we have 2 Unsummon. 1 blue, return target creature to its owner's hand. Use this a couple times just to clear the board off of my opponent's creatures, as well as pump up my creatures that had prowess. And finally, into our sorceries, we have 1 Puncturing Blow, 2 and 2 red. It deals 5 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. This is actually the card I copied with the Cooperate half of Refuse to Cooperate. And we have 1 Tormenting Voice. 1 in a red is additional cost to cast it, discard a card, draw 2 cards. So I was able to play this, and that's what I used to pump up my Cunning Survivors. This was a pretty fun deck to play. Again, overall in the tournament, went 2-1, took 3rd place. First round I won 2-1. Second round I lost 1-2, and the 3rd round I won 2-0. So again, it was a pretty fun deck. I'll leave the deck list in the description below. Until next time, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.